don't even know how to start this right now because just sad. Welcome to my Final Four preview for what's going to be an interesting weekend coming up here in my life. Not excited about this year's Final Four. We've got Duke, we've got North Carolina, we've got Villanova, and we've got Kansas. Not a lot to get excited about, but here we go. Where to even begin right now? First and foremost, I must say that before I even get into my anger with what's going on in the world of college basketball right now, please remember, everyone, that they're just kids. They're just kids. I can't be mad at the kids. I can't. Bracket is completely busted. I knew that going into it. I took Richmond over Iowa, and then St. Peter's happened. Not a big fan, not a big Peacock guy. They hurt me in ways that I didn't think that I could be hurt. But I would like to apologize to Kentucky, Big Blue Nation. I'm sorry. I am. The story's not about you anymore in regards to St. Peter's, but I owe you an apology because I did not have any service the night Kentucky lost to St. Peter's, and then I tweeted the next morning that Kentucky was lucky that I couldn't tweet, and then they beat Purdue, and I deserve that one. That's my bad. First and foremost, the Final Four set. Coach K is going to play North Carolina. The storyline's there, and Villanova is going to face off against Kansas. That's not. I'm going to take. Oh no, it did not take long for that, but we will pop that up here in a second. It didn't take much to disappoint me. March Madness, I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this. Normally, a Final Four of these four teams would be very exciting. I am a Duke hater. I am not a Coach K fan. I do not like Coach K. I've actually been very #anyone but Duke the entire March Madness, even going into the ACC tournament. It's just this 75-year-old man lives rent-free in my head, and I can't do anything about that. I can't. That's on me, and I'm sorry, but I have been rooting against Coach K since the beginning of time. Never been a Coach K guy. I am not a Coach K guy. But in regards to, we do have a little bit of breaking news to talk about here on the podcast. It did not take long for St. Peter's coach Shaheen Holloway to find a new job. He's going to be the new head coach at Seton Hall. I like the move. I like the move a lot for him. He's an alumni of Seton Hall. Everyone that's saying that Shaheen Holloway is abandoning his players, I need you to take a seat. I need you to just knock that off because you couldn't be further from the truth. Here's the way that college sports goes nowadays. You cannot sit there and tell me that his players are not thinking about the transfer portal. That's the way of basketball this decade. Last decade was the one and done. That's why Kentucky was always good. That's why Duke was getting always good. I mean, those programs are always going to be great, but you can't tell me that one and done wasn't the story from 2010 to 2020. Now what we're seeing is, and especially in college football, is the transfer portal. College sports have free agency. Now that players can sign NIL deals, it's a whole new ballgame. It really is. And you can't tell me that going to St. Peter's University, what a heck of a run, by the way, going all the way to the Elite Eight, first 15 seed to ever make the Elite Eight, St. Peter's Fighting Peacocks, whatever they're called. I don't even know their official name. But for them to do what they've done to beat Kentucky, beat Murray State, beat Purdue, and then ultimately fall today to North Carolina with a trip to New Orleans on the line, it's impressive. It's very impressive. And you've got to commend what these kids were able to do, what Shaheen Holloway was able to get them to be able to do. He deserves the job. his players, again, we're going to circle back to this. They are thinking about the transfer portal. They're going to say that they're not, but they are. You can't tell me that those kids didn't want to stick it to John Calipari, stick it to Matt Painter, and be like, this is why I should be playing at your school. 1,000%, that's what was going on. That had to be in the back of their heads at some point during those games. And what you're going to see is now that the transfer portal is such a huge part of the game, you are going to see some of these players that are not graduating possibly go to different schools, because at the end of the day, one of the major goals for a college basketball player is to go to the NBA. And I'm sorry, but if I'm an NBA owner and I'm an NBA front office guy, I'm looking at those top 4 schools, right? Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, Michigan State, North Carolina. You take your pick. If I see that school next to someone, I'm going to probably pay a lot more attention than I am to someone from St. Peter's. That's not me knocking on the university. I'm sorry if it sounds like I am, but that's just the way that it is. That's how it goes. So these kids have earned an opportunity now to take what they've done, which is history, by the way. They've made history in this tournament, and go reward themselves by going to play somewhere where they're going to get more recognition. Because at the end of the day, you got to care more about the players than you do the name on the front of the jersey. That's just the way it goes. So that's just a little bit talking about what St. Peter's has been able to do in this tournament. The Shaheen Holloway news, obviously very big. I do need to address the elephant in the room that I was talking about at work today, that I wasn't prepared to have this conversation. Am I done with sports? I don't know. I don't know if I'm done with sports. I talked about Coach K. Coach K lives rent-free in my head. He's a 75-year-old man that lives rent-free in my head, and I'm not proud of that. I spent the entire tournament, again, rooting against this man, and the team continues to win and win. So let's just go ahead and pop it up there. Let's talk about Duke's road to the Final Four, how they've gotten to New Orleans. They beat number 15 seed CS Fullerton. You know, good for Coach K for getting over the hump. And I'm going to refer to Duke as Coach K because he's made it all about him and not about the team. Beating Michigan State, I thought Izzo was going to give me a great shot of knocking Coach K out of the tournament, but of course that's not going to happen. Texas Tech, just absolutely brutal. Texas Tech has looked great the entire tournament. I thought they were going to get a shot at it. Nope. And then the poor Muss Bus, man. Arkansas was my last hope of keeping Coach K away from the entire state of Louisiana, and they just didn't get it done, and I was very sad about that. I don't know if I'm going to be done with sports. We're just going to have to address that next week. There's a lot riding on the Final Four game against North Carolina, so taking into that, North Carolina, Tar Heel Nation, please. I come to you in an hour of need. America comes to you in an hour of need. We need you. We need you to show up like you have this entire tournament one more time. One more time. I've already applied to be a bandwagon this week. I will be tweeting North Carolina stuff all week. I need you. Please. Please. I don't want Coach K to win this tournament. And I think I'm scared. I'm scared that it's going to happen because I thought that Duke was going to be out of it by now, and they're not. They're just hanging on. So to talk about my new favorite tournament team left of the 4, North Carolina, they've gotten to New Orleans by beating Marquette. They beat Baylor, who was the top seed in that loaded East region. Then they beat UCLA, who made last year's Final Four, and many thought we're going to do it again this year. I myself included. I did have UCLA in my Elite Eight at least, but losing to Kentucky. Then that number 15 St. Peter's, man. North Carolina, I know I just begged you for your help, but you got so lucky. You got so lucky avoiding Kentucky and Purdue. You got so lucky. You're right. Purdue should be there. They should. Purdue should. They beat North Carolina earlier this year. They would have probably done it again. They could. The Kentucky Purdue. We've been robbed of Kentucky Purdue so many times, and I'm very upset about it. Very upset about that. I guess the other two teams in this tournament, it's not really going to matter because that's all anybody is going to be talking about is Coach K versus North Carolina this entire week. So I may as well be the one to talk about it. Villanova So everyone forgot about Jay Wright and the Wildcats. Not the Wildcats I expected to be in the Final Four. I would have taken Arizona or Kentucky before I said Villanova, but here we are. They also beat a 15 seed. A lot of people beating 15 seeds, man. Delaware, then they beat Ohio State. Michigan. Michigan had no business being in the Sweet 16. And then they beat Houston, who knocked off Arizona. So that was a pretty good win. There's a part of me that thought Houston was going to go to the Final Four for a second. But I want North Carolina to win just so that they can beat Duke. So that's me rooting for North Carolina. But I feel out of the 4 remaining teams left, I want Villanova to win the most, which isn't saying much because, again, this Final Four is a basketball fan's dream because it's 4 big programs. But I like to root for a little bit of chaos when my teams are out. So there's not much to get excited about there. No, Andy, you're absolutely right. Best part about this Final Four is any of these 4 teams could beat the other 3 and win it all. It's absolutely true. That's how big these 4 teams are very good. It is anyone's game. I'll get into that in a second. All 4 of these teams have done great things throughout this entire season. You look at what Kansas has done. You look at what North Carolina has done, the way that they started and the way that they finished. I did not think that North Carolina was going to be a Final Four team. There was a part of me that before the last few weeks of the season, I didn't know if North Carolina was going to make the NCAA tournament. I thought they were going to the NIT. Duke, you always figured was going to be here. Duke, you knew that Coach K was going to. Yeah, I didn't want Coach K to be here, but here we are. That last team of the Final Four, Kansas. Kansas is one of those programs, one of those teams where like you think they're always there, but they're not. I actually think the last time Kansas was in the national championship game, it was 2012. And, they lost that game to Kentucky, but I think that was the last time they were in a championship game. To get here, they beat 16 seed Texas Southern. They beat Creighton. That was a great game. Then they barely beat Providence, which was such a good game. And then they beat number 10 Miami, who, again, don't know how they got there. But all of these teams, they caught a break. They caught a break. For Duke, it was not having to play Gonzaga. For North Carolina, it was missing Purdue and Kentucky. For Villanova, it was missing Arizona. In Kansas, it was missing Auburn. So that's just the way March Madness goes, and it's really great because it's like you expect these teams to play each other when everything is on the line, when this trip to New Orleans is on the line, then it doesn't happen. It's anybody's game. It's anybody's game. So I just want to put out, this is not a conspiracy theory. I do not talk about conspiracy theories. I said before this podcast started, I told someone, I had an interaction on Twitter, does this count? Does this count as a conspiracy theory? And I was told no. So this is not a conspiracy theory. But if it was, Coach K would be stealing March. He's stealing March harder than the Grinch stole Christmas. Let's review. Okay. Coach K beats Tom Izzo. They gave him that one. Texas Tech. Yeah, sure. That was great. Duke, Texas Tech 2 versus 3. Yeah, you expect that. Gonzaga being out. I'm not blaming the refs. Not blaming the refs. I was happy to see Gonzaga lose that game. But now, this Final Four, it's very sketchy. I don't like it. Duke playing North Carolina for the first time in the NCAA tournament for the first time in history. Come on. You don't think they're going to let Duke and Coach K knock off North Carolina to send them to the national championship game in Coach K's final season? I don't know about that one. And then in the championship game, you have Kansas over there. I think Kansas is going to beat Villanova. But to let Coach K knock North Carolina out of the tournament and then win it all in the national championship by defeating, which is now the winningest program in college basketball, in the Kansas Jayhawks, something smells fishy. Something smells very fishy. I don't know. This isn't a conspiracy theory, but if it was, that would be my 2 cents. That is true. Kansas does have the most wins in basketball history doesn't make me feel. It makes me feel very sad. That does say a lot because in the last 10 years, I mean, like I just said, Kansas has been to one national championship. Kentucky's been in two. Kentucky's won one of them. 2012 against Kansas. Then you had 2014. Kentucky makes it back again with that loaded team. Loses to Connecticut. I was devastated. I remember crying that night. Not a great time. Yes, I do cry over sports. But my hat goes off to Kansas because, honestly, it sucks. It really does suck because Kentucky whooped Kansas at Fog Allen Fieldhouse in January of this year. But that's the way March goes. It's all about matchups. Kentucky played St. Peter's, lost. That's going to take away opportunities to win ball games, and Kansas just kept winning and winning and winning. They were so close. They were like neck and neck that whole way, and obviously those 4 extra wins helped Kansas get over the hump. Villanova, yes, that Achilles injury. Villanova is going to be down a huge player in the Final Four. That's going to hurt them big time against Kansas. I do like Kansas a lot in that Final Four game. I do think that they're going to end up winning. Like I just said, it's going to be Duke, Kansas for the national championship. I don't think that there's any way that the NCAA is not going to let Coach K play his final game in the national championship. If I was talking about conspiracy theories, which I'm not, that's what I would bet on. But it's anyone but Duke. It's anyone but Duke. Please, just literally anyone but Duke. You gave me 68 teams. I was rooting for 67 of them. There's only one team I didn't want to be talking about tonight, yet I have to. The games were boring. Yes, they were. Yesterday they were competitive. These games today were not fun. I was telling everybody I was a big Miami fan and a big St. Peter's fan today just for the chaos of it. Just for the chaos of it all. And of course, St. Peter's, it kind of pissed me off that St. Peter's goes out there, beats Kentucky in overtime. Then they beat Purdue. Pour salt in my wounds. And then they come out flat today against North Carolina and just get absolutely steamrolled. That sucked. That sucked a lot. At least make it competitive. Make me feel good about losing to that team twice, if you're me. I'm not hating on St. Peter's. I like St. Peter's. I was rooting for St. Peter's today. But actually, this is also some breaking news. I've just found out we have live footage of Coach K walking into the NCAA headquarters demanding that he be in the Final Four against North Carolina. Check out the footage. Can you believe that? I can't. I cannot believe that happened. It's shocking. It's very shocking. I don't know, man. I don't know. But again, anyone but Duke. We'll be back next week talking about the national championship. That's my Final Four picks. It's going to be Duke against Kansas in the national championship. I hope I'm wrong. I will be rooting my heart off. I will not have rooted harder than I'm going to root for North Carolina on Saturday, I believe it's Saturday. Yes, it's Saturday because the national championship game is going to be a week from tomorrow, which is Monday. Hopefully we're going to go out. The Tar Heels are going to go out, get me a dub, get rid of Coach K for me. I hope I'm right in that regard. I hope I'm wrong in picking Duke to win. I'm scared, man. I'm scared. This is March, and we're getting down to the very nitty-gritty. We'll catch you next week. Go Tar Heels.